Well, I was born in Radville, but we were living on the original homestead. I was maybe 1 or 2 or 3 when we moved to Brooking, which was 5 or 6 miles west. In 1937, my mom and dad packed up everything with 3 kids and went to Creston, BC, because it was a drought here. It was really bad, and we lived there for most of the year. We rented a place. The landlady was a miserable old bitch, and we had running water, and so naturally I was playing with the hose, and she said, "Don't you dare squirt me in." I did it. In '44, I was 11 years old when we moved to the farm. But how old, what grade would I be in? Probably about 6, yeah. We had a very strict school teacher when I was in grade 6. And I sometimes got into a bit of trouble, that once or twice. Anyway, this school teacher was strict and little mean, and I'd done some fool thing, and she was coming after me, and I went out into the vestibule and climbed up on top of a partition so she couldn't reach me. 1944, Dad built a house out in the farm where I spent most of our years, and we moved out there and built the dam. I was a little too young to drive the tractor, but I could run the Fresno. We had a creek running by the house, and we dammed it up so that we got 11 acres of water there, and that's what made the farm what it was, because you had water. Was never dissatisfied with anything. Worked hard, lots of work. Had cows and horses and pigs and chickens and turkeys. You know, there weren't a whole lot of any one of them, but I don't like horses. Behind every horse there's a horse's ass. I was 18. My dad brought me up, and we went to Federated Co-ops to see if he could get me a job, or the IR guy said, "Oh no, we've got a job for him." So that was how I chose my career. You know, I started out at $1.18 an hour, and I was a fast learner. They wouldn't have to show me how to do things more than once. I progressed through it pretty fast. I was the utility man on the units, and then I was in the boiler house, and then I was a pumper, and then I was a treaterman, and then back on the units. Like this all happened in a year.
It was about 54 when we met.
Yeah. She was just down there for the weekend, and I happened to be down there with her for the weekend.
That wasn't how it was. That wasn't how it was.
I don't know. All I remember is meeting her down there.
You met me up here, dear. I never met you down there. We were on that double date with Roy Levy, and you had Billy. And it was after that.
Was I up here then?
Yeah, you were working at the refinery.
Well, I know I was working at the
Yeah.
refinery, but I thought it was...
No, it was here in Regina.
Well, I didn't know.
And Roy was going to go over and call on me, so because we were going out as a foursome. And he said, "Why don't you go up and get her?" So you came up, and I knew who you were, but I didn't know you.
Yeah, okay.
Because he had a bet that I wouldn't come down with you, but I did. And I don't remember what we did that night. And it was shortly after that you phoned me and said, "Should we go out?" And we did. And
No, you phoned me.
whatever then. I broke up with Roy.
I remember giving you a ring at Christmas time. Had to save money, so you do 2 things at once.
It was Christmas Eve, and we had made her, I guess you had come down to Radville.
I was
Christmas.
down there, yeah. Well, we went, I don't know, I had Christmas off anyway.
Yeah, for a change. And we had said that when he'd come and pick me up from Auntie Ruthie's, and he says, to exchange gifts, he says, you give me yours first and then I'll give you mine. I bought him a electric razor shaver. He never had one of those. And he got that, and then he reached in his pocket and said, here.
Married in July, so.
Pretty big.
Yeah.
Yeah, about 100 guests, I guess. That was big back then.
It was in Radville. That's where all the relatives were and your friends. She's a very loving mother, good wife, generous in many, many ways, and for the most part, lets you do what you have to do.
Sounds
Good
pretty
friend.
perfect.
That's a short answer, but that sums it all up. Couple here, well, until the kids went to school, we used to go out back down to the farms lots. Like my days off would be in the middle of the week. She wasn't working, so we could just pick up and go. We took a trip every year, pretty well anyway, not every year. I guess I didn't always have, because summer holidays. We went out to Vancouver, west, many, many times, it seems. Pulling a trailer or just driving or whatever. One year we tented up at L'Orange, Waskasiu. We had Joan's mom and dad had 2 tents. And we had a Volkswagen to get it all up there. The old Volkswagen on the way home, the pinion gear went out of it, so I growled all the way home. And then we had what they call a Borgward, a B-O-R-G-W-A-R-D car. It was a German car. It was kind of before its time. And we drove to Vancouver with that. We had to go around the Big Bend, if you know where that is. Instead of going from Golden to Revelstoke over the Rogers Pass, Rogers Pass wasn't there.
It was a day drive.
You had to go about 200 miles north to get around the mountains. And we done that with the old Borgward.
We just had the 2 boys then.
Yeah. Well, they were the old canvas tents, so touch them, they didn't leak too much. When I bought the first fold-down tent trailer, the box was 10 feet, and so it was 20 feet when it was all canvas. And we made a lot of trips with that full thing.
We had that for quite a few years.
Yeah, we sold it when they were here. Yeah, no, it was.
We sold it to Les Kranz's parents.
Well, there was lots of room in it.
We went down to the Black Hills and out to BC and all through the States.
Yellowstone, and then across through Seattle and across the island.
Into Vancouver, Victoria, and then into Vancouver.
But even before that, we traveled. The old Volkswagen, we went to Grand Prairie with it. At least once. Couldn't afford it then, but we did it. You had holidays, so you just went. And wasn't very long after we were married that I was a master operator. So I was maybe a couple of years. I wasn't always on that unit. I went from that one, and then like it was kind of a prestige unit. Some of these hotshot fellas, they come up in the old section, but it wasn't prestige, so they bypassed their seniority, and I bypassed them on the other way. And then I was master operator 5-6 years before they ever got to that. Yeah, but it was all a matter of being a quick learn. I worked shift work until 78. Well, except for 1 year I was off as a rep. I was an operator. But during the time of the AIB, Anti-Inflation Board, the government decreed that you couldn't have wage increases. I was bargaining chairman or president at the time. And so you changed the names of the job. Got a little bit of training, could go up a step. Couldn't have a wage increase, but you could move from this level to this level. So that was all done in cooperation with the company. You didn't have to fight that. They were as peed off with it, with the interferences as anybody was. And I got quite active in the union then. All the pensions that they're trying to save right now, I put into place. Or I was either bargaining chairman or president when those savings plan and that went into place. 12-hour shifts that they're on now, I put into place. Well, it's just making work better, and when you're on shift and there's a lot of talk goes on and always exploring and looking at better ways of doing things and what might make life better. And of course that would. The 12-hour shift wasn't nicer work, but the days off were great. We got the first 12-hour shift agreement in the province. Many followed right after, but we got the first one. I started with bargaining as president of the local in the plant. And so it's just something that you did. 1974, they wanted me to come on as a temporary rep for a year and raid SGEU. Like when you're raiding, you're trying to take their membership away. So I did that. Didn't get any, but it was a good experience. And then in 78, I went back into the plant in 75, someplace. And I worked there another 3 years. Then went out as a full-time rep. One of the good things that I did was when I did go for a rep, I think it was a greater challenge personally to do that job than it was like running the refinery was kind of blah at the time, because you'd done so many days of doing that it was no longer a challenge. I worked for 26 years, and then I was always active in the union, and so it was natural to move from the refinery to the union, and I worked there for 17 years. I went from working shift work to working all the time, but I tried to implement in all my units that I serviced the good working relationship we had in the refinery, and by and large was mostly successful in doing that, getting a better rapport with the company. And of course it was getting to have the management accept that what you said is what you meant and what you agreed to is what you did. So the integrity was there. And for all of the locals that I serviced, that was how I tried to operate. That it was honest and straightforward and pretty persistent in what you needed. Improved the lives of many, many people. I suppose one of the worst times was the strike I had in Lanigan. That tested my mettle pretty good. But the guy I was dealing with said to me that he wasn't going to deal with that one until this one was settled. And that's all fine and dandy, and he went over there and settled. Well, that tested me pretty good, because I figured I'd been really shot down. But we just kept on, and That strike lasted 15 months, and we never lost a house or a toy. Lost some toys, but not a house or anything like that. And basically didn't win a hell of a lot except respect. We got some of the stuff, but I was burnt out. Things were going bad. You know, they weren't getting big. Guys were expecting greater returns on their bargaining than that I could produce because times are going backwards, and I was burnt right out. My health was bad, my gout was bad, and I figured I would make out all right financially, and so I just informed my boss that I was going to retire. I told him in September. I didn't retire until January 1, and I was 60.
Grandpa, tell me about them good old days. Sometimes it feels like this world's gone crazy. Grandpa, take me back to yesterday, when the line between right and wrong didn't seem so hazy. Did lovers really fall in love to stay and stand beside each other come what may? Was a promise really something people kept, not just something they would say? Did families really bow their heads to pray? Did daddies really never go away? Whoa, whoa, Grandpa, tell me about them good old days. Grandpa, everything is changing fast. Oh, we call it progress, but I just don't know. Oh, Grandpa, let's wander back into the past and paint me a picture of long ago. Did lovers really fall in love to stay or stand beside each other come what may? Was a promise really something people kept, not just something they would say and then forget? Families really bow their heads to pray. Did daddies really never go away? Whoa, whoa, Grandpa, tell me about them good old days. Whoa, whoa, Grandpa, tell me about them good old days.
That's a tough question. It needs more New Democrats and less conservatives. Think over the eons of time that the Bernie Sanders of the world are making a hell of a difference now. The Trumps of the world are making a difference too, but they're going backwards. I think they're taking away from the ordinary people, which is the most glaring example right now. But it's been that way here too. It ended up going to the conventions and being involved and trying to make it better. But then it comes a point where you can't do that anymore. It was all exciting and sometimes rewarding in your personal feelings anyway. Never made any money on it, never figured on it. But you were trying to make things better. And I guess that's what the world needs more of. More us and not so much me. Well, one who was honest, tried to make life better for wherever I was, for whoever was around, and dedicated to some things, but never a slave. I might be religious, but I would never be a slave to a church. And I believed in the NDP, and probably become closer to a slave to it than any. And the Union, of course, was my life, so, but I wouldn't give up a lot of things to be that. More true to myself and what I believed in than what somebody else was trying to push on me.
Looking back on the memory of the dance we shared with the stars above. For a moment, all the world was right. How could I have known that you'd ever say goodbye? And now I'm glad I didn't know the way it all would end, the way it all would go. Our lives are better left to chance. I could have missed the pain, but I'd had to miss the dance. Holding you, I held everything. For a moment, wasn't I the king? If I'd only known how the king would fall. Hey, who's to say? You know I might have changed it all. And now I'm glad I didn't know the way it all would end, the way it all would go. Our lives are better left to chance. I could have missed the pain, but I'd had to miss. Yes, our lives are better left to chance. I could have missed the pain, but I'd had to miss the dance.
When we took the family down to Mexico,
I think that was our best vacation times. But we had a lot of trips with our motorhome that we took. Ruth and Abin and Olive and I guess Frank wasn't in and then he'd gone.
oh, Frank was gone
It was
then.
just all Ruth and Olive and Ab would go. And we went all across Canada right out to Newfoundland. And then we also did the big trip to Europe. So we had many vacations that we've done. And lots of holidays, and we've enjoyed every one of them.
Well, my family and what I was able to accomplish as a union rep, I think were the most rewarding, and to some degree the influence that we tried to expand on the political movement in that day and age. I think it probably goes in that line. Maybe I don't know what else. The fact that we're comfortable and live well now, I guess, is a point of being satisfied with yourself. What do you, if you're trying to put it in a few words?
We've got all of the siblings and cousin Frankie together for a visit today. We made it all.
Good wife, good family, good life. Live the good life. Don't try to express or put on to others what your thoughts are. Just be good to your family. Be decent people. That's all you can hope for.
I want to thank you all for being here and making an effort and making this about as nice a Christmas as I can ever remember. Of course, I can't remember much, but and all the quality gifts and thought that you put into them, I really appreciate. And we're quite comfortable right here, I think. Doing as best we can. Dan and Ryan and Pam all out lots. Get our stuff done. And so, and we've always got more hands than we need to cuddle on. And we appreciate that. But, hello, Pumpkin. Good to have the little ones come by once in a while. Although he hasn't taken me at all. But when I get out on the wheelchair again, you'll be going.
Oh yeah.
So I don't know what I can say anymore. I just wanted to say, I know what you're doing. I appreciate what you're doing. And the best of luck to all of us.
That's right.
Merry Christmas.
Thank you for everything.
We meant a lot.
I don't even know what that everything is, but you know what it is. Because you did so much stuff for us that we don't even know.
Yeah.
Well, I guess if I taught you anything, you did all right.
You taught me if I don't succeed, try and try again, but don't make a damn fool out of yourself.
Yeah? Pull that over.
I'm holding on to it.
Ah. Did you get up there? Yeah?
I started the car, so it's warming up. So we'll head out in the next like 10 minutes. I'm gonna be taking a big load too. Oh, I forgot the wagon.
Well, we're looking for
Take it home in mine. Okay, thank
spring
you.
again.
Oh yeah. Well, it's getting closer.
I appreciate it.
Once you get through the winter and then downhill to there. Once you get through Christmas, it's downhill to spring. Get up your wheelchair again and take off.